welcome to Aiken Business Matters, and we are so happy today to have a young man I've known for a long time, he and his family, and we're just tickled to death to have Joshua Stewart with us today. He's with Stewart Builders and engineering firm here in Aiken. Josh, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
I know you and your family well, but I want to make sure our audience does. So tell us a little bit about your family and yourself.
Sure. Aiken native, born and raised. My grandfather, to give you a little history, moved to Aiken to work for the Savannah River site when it first opened up, or near when it first opened in the mid-50s. And he began working out there, and then soon after that, he started to build houses. So that's how our business got started, Stewart Builders. And so my family's been here since then, and I have wife, Erin, and I have two children, a 4-year-old Parks and a 1-year-old Ansley. And my brother and I currently run Stewart Builders and Stewart Engineering together.
And what's your brother's name?
Nathan.
Nathan.
Nathan Stewart.
Okay. What does your wife do?
She is a physician's assistant at GRU. So she specializes in electrophysiology. So if you have electrical impulse issues with your heart, she's the one that's going to help get you straightened out.
And I did have an opportunity to, first time I met her was over there. I was visiting someone that was in the hospital over there, and she was doing her rounds that day and got a chance to meet her, and she explained to me what that was all about. I'd never heard of that.
Right, yeah.
But she said that, when we have heart issues, you either have a plumbing problem or an electrical problem, and she deals with the electrical side of it.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah. Again, the building business, you certainly can. And your ages of your children again?
4 and 1. I have a 4-year-old boy named Parks and a 1-year-old girl, Ansley.
So you are busy.
We are busy. That's right.
Well, you mentioned you and your brother with the business, and I know that this is a family business that's been around for a while. And what year did the business actually start?
The business, Stewart Builders, started in 1955. So grandfather moved to town. We're from the upstate originally.
Right.
And he decided that the site was not for him, so he started a home residential construction company. And there was obviously a great need for that with all the people moving into town. So he grew that business over the years, and in the late 70s, my father took over, and they had begun to kind of transition towards more commercial building. They did we were doing some of the, what you call pre-engineered metal buildings.
Right.
A lot of warehouse work, and then they were doing a lot of office, like custom office, which is residential-like. And then, so my father took it mostly commercial, and then when my brother and I got out of school, I'm a licensed structural engineer, so I added the engineering aspect to it. So we have Stewart Engineering and Stewart Builders under the same roof working together.
Wow, that's pretty impressive to be able to have all that together. And I was going to tell you this, but my dad was in engineering and building. He worked with the Graniteville Company over the years, and he had 2 brothers, and both of them were engineers and builders, and their father was a builder too. So I decided to go in a different direction, but. So I understand when you have a business that all of the siblings and everybody gravitates into it. That's kind of a neat thing.
Yeah.
So you're able to take the banner and the legacy of Stewart and keep it flying then.
Right.
And I guess you can look around Aiken and see a lot of the monuments that are testaments to your family.
Right. Yeah, I actually find out things that my grandfather built all the time that I didn't even know about.
How about that?
People come up and say, yeah, your grandfather built my building, back in the 60s. So it's always neat to do that.
How much pressure do you and you and Nate feel with that heritage that you take with you?
There certainly is responsibility. We've always been a relatively small construction company. We stay mostly local in the South Carolina, Georgia area that we're in. So staying close by, you do have to maintain relationships, and you have to maintain a certain level of quality, or you're going to get run out of town. So for us to have been around so long is a testament to the work that we do and the quality of work that we do. So.
Yeah. What kind of things do you enjoy doing in the business? What are the things that really pique your interest in, that really make it worthwhile for you to go to work every day?
Well, for me, engineering is first and foremost what I do. So I'm a
Right.
structural designer, a structural engineer. So I like to work with the design team and come up with the plan for the building and kind of figure out how it all goes together. And then secondly, I enjoy community involvement. That's a lot of my role for Stewart Builders as a marketing role. And I do a lot of community service type work. I'm on a lot of local charitable committees, and I just try to give back to the community any way we can.
Good. Technology has really taken a big place in your world. I know when I was growing up, I'd sit on my dad's knee, and if I went to work with him one Saturday, he was doing something, I'll never forget it. You know, he had this big drafting board in front of him, and and the T-square and all the little things that went along with. He was,
Right.
you know, doing plans and things like that. They don't have to do that anymore, do they?
No, they don't. Technology has changed designing quite a bit. Construction, more or less, is like it always has been.
Sure.
You're going to have hammers and nails and things like that. But as far as drafting goes, I did learn some hand drafting early on, but we've gone, you know, away from that. Everything's computer aided, and it allows you to do a lot more for the client in a shorter period of time. And that's one of the services we offer, is we can help, you know, with the software that we have in-house, we can put together concepts for people and kind of help them get an idea of what they need and then how much it'll cost to do it.
I remember when I had some friends that were engineers, and I remember when the first CAD systems came out, the software, that was a phenomenal thing for them to be able to cut time and be able to make quick changes and things like that. And then I know that graphics have come in there, and virtual reality, can you actually go in and show somebody what a building is going to look like, the elevations on the different sides and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a program that'll do that. You can draw a 3D model of the building, and you can integrate all the different systems together. You can show light switches, lights. You can actually do a walkthrough of the space virtually, and so there's a lot of different tools.
So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of the thing for prospective customer, for our client, for you folks. When should somebody that is contemplating building a commercial building or an industrial type of building, when should they really get involved with an engineer and a GC?
Well, it does depend. I would oftentimes recommend getting involved with a contractor as early as you can, because you know, if you have an idea of what you want, they can help you put together a realistic budget so that you can, that's always the most important thing. Can I afford to do what I want to do? So if you can get with a contractor, and if you have a relationship with them, then you can get some help with some early budgeting. And then, you know, the contractor can help you form that plan so that when you do take it to a designer, they have an idea of the cost and the general needs of the client, and then they're able to put it on paper and better serve the client with their design.
Do you work with the different municipalities and cities that you work in to, I mean, I guess you know all the different codes and issues that are going to face you as you build certain buildings, and what's allowed in certain areas. Do you do that, or is that something that the client will have to develop on their own?
We do. We work with the municipalities. We have relationships with the local building officials, so that we can, you know, we call them up and we can kind of do a feasibility study for the owner.
Right.
So if you say you want to expand your building, well, you know, we will be able to help you navigate the submittal to the governing body. So a lot of times you have to submit to a design review board or a planning commission or the city council. We can help with that process because we do know the ins and outs. And then, of course, just our general knowledge of the building code, that's gonna give you an advantage as well early on.
Right. As a builder and as an engineer, just to let our audience know, you serve presently on the City of Aiken Design Review Board.
Correct.
So I guess that gives you a really good insight into what is needed, and probably gives you a leg up to facilitate projects that you're involved in.
Well, you do have you have to separate your interest from the interests of DRB. So I wouldn't qualify it as a leg up. I would say it's just knowing the process and just having that knowledge of how it all goes together, which is available to anyone. When you're supposed to submit, the level of detail that you need to submit. That's always important. How much information you show those groups is important. It helps them get a picture for what's going on, and they can understand it more quickly, and it better serves your clients when you have that knowledge of how to fill those out.
How important is it for a new customer for you to be able to give them that visual representation of what they want to do? Is that something that I know you've seen it evolve over the years, and you've seen the technology, as you've already stated,
Right.
Be a big part of what you do every day? Does it help people make a decision quicker?
Absolutely. Yeah, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I believe that. I think people are visual. If you can show them a drawing, if you can show them a rendering or a 3D view perspective, even better. It'll help them make a decision. It'll help them feel more comfortable with what you're telling them you can do for them. There's not a lot of they don't have to use their imagination. They can see it. They know what they're going to get, and there's definitely a comfort level there.
When you and your design team come together, you're really taking ideas and thoughts from somebody else and then transforming them into the reality of the visual presentation that you give people. And I guess that's a kind of a heady process for you folks, because you're really directing what somebody wants and try to lead them through it, and just making sure that they know what they want is really what they need.
Right.
And I guess that's kind of is a tough time sometimes to try to walk people through that process.
Right. Yeah. You've got to you have to be you have to listen, and you have to kind of understand what they need, and then give them some constructive criticism, maybe to help them understand how their budget fits with what they'd like to see. A lot of times the vision is not always, what people can afford.
Exactly.
So, you always want to be able to be good stewards of their finances and help them make those decisions. So.
It's not like buying a car.
Right.
You're investing an awful lot of
Yeah, it's
money.
not a commodity. You don't know what these things are going to cost until you get in there and you have a plan. And you really get into it.
How much do people think about it? I know from just talking with you and seeing some of the things that people have to do in the as general contractors, but do they think about the practicality of what they're building as it applies to the usage that they're going to have inside? That's kind of it may look great, it may look wonderful aesthetically, but it may not function like they need it to function on a day-to-day operation.
Right, that's all part of the planning process. So they give us you get varying degrees of needs, or the level of understanding of what they need. So if a client says they need a building for a specific purpose, like a gathering hall, and they may not know the size for a number of people. They can just tell you, well, we want to seat 250 people.
Right.
Well, you've got to use your knowledge of the code to figure out, how big that needs to be. And so there's different, and then sometimes you'll get a client that wants to do a small renovation. They know exactly what they want, and you're really just putting it on paper so they can see it, present it, and then get it built.
Yeah. We've talked basically about new construction, but do you get into renovation work?
We do. We do quite a bit of renovation, actually.
Good.
We do a lot of work downtown. We did the Holly Building downtown on Lawrence Street. We did Newberry Hall on Newberry Street. And we did the old post office. Very proud of that.
Yeah, you should be. I've been through. I like yourself, I grew up in Aiken, and I remember going in there to get mail with my dad when I was a little boy, and I used to think that the stairs going up there were so tall, but they're not.
Right.
But the way that you transform the inside of it really looks beautiful. You really did a great job.
That was a neat project. We actually did a complete gut of the interior, and we designed a mezzanine situation with a conference room beneath they had a very tight space to do that in, so it was an interesting project pulling that one together.
And I guess you, like every other building, you had to worry about handicap access and things like that. That's really a challenge today in some of the older buildings that you have to deal with.
Absolutely, yeah. Accessibility is a big issue.
Yeah. How much a part of the renovation has been historical type buildings like the old post office?
You're saying percent of volume, I guess?
No, not percent, but have you done a fair number of old historic buildings
We
that
have.
you work in? Yeah.
We have. We've done a number downtown, and we've done some in the surrounding areas. We did a renovation of an old building for Edgefield County recently, and it was a very dilapidated structure, and they had a vision for what they wanted to do, and we were able to pull it together for them, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. I guess it's like anything else. You just, when you're going into an older building like that, especially some of those that have been around for many, many, many years, and have fallen into disrepair, it's a challenge to be able to determine up front what it's going to take to get them back to what you need.
Absolutely.
Because you never know what's behind that interior surface until you tear it out.
That's right. Yeah, renovations are difficult. You don't know what's in there until you start really getting into it and start tearing things out. So you always want to be cautious when advising clients on, especially budgeting for renovations.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
It's pretty hard to do that with it. But with the modern technology, you can probably put a pretty good price tag on things.
Usually you can.
So people know what's going into it. From just the things that we've talked about, your family really has had an impact on the Aiken and the surrounding communities with the things that you're able to look at, the renovations that you've done, the new buildings that you've done. That has to be a great sense of pride, and I'm sure that the whole family feels that continuing as they see you and your brother continuing to carry the flag for the company out there, and looks like it's going to be in there for a long time. Any chances that you feel like your children are going to carry you see any capabilities in the engineering or building field from your children?
Possibly.
Good.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little young to tell at this point.
You can always push them though, you know.
Right, we'll see.
Rector sets and things like that. So, your dad was. You talked about giving back to the community. Your dad was much like that. So you and your brother are following that line. Tell us a little bit about your dad's involvement in the community.
Yeah, he's been involved since the beginning. Since he came back from school, he got right into it. He's been part of a number of organizations, the Chamber, and then he's also he's been a representative for us locally at the state level.
Right.
He was a representative for many years and enjoyed doing that, and felt like he did a lot of good and represented people well.
Yep, he certainly did Aiken proud by representing us in Columbia for a number of years, and we appreciate his service to our community. It certainly was something you and the whole family can look back on with a lot of pride.
Absolutely.
And it certainly doesn't do anything but speak so well of Stewart Builders and engineering. You yourself are involved with a number of different organizations, and I was just looking through this and happened to see this in the paper. Recently, you were named as a young professional to follow with a number of other young folks in our community, and that was quite an honor. And I think your family certainly would say that they're very proud of you and the things that you've accomplished, and it kind of is just a continuation of the heritage and the I don't want to say birthright, but I guess it kind of feels almost like that you're given a heavy responsibility, you and your brother, to run the business, but you've also feel obviously a responsibility to give back to the community that's given to you.
Absolutely.
And we're certainly proud, and I certainly was glad to see you recognized in that way, because you and I personally have served on a number of organizations together. That's where we first met.
Right.
And I know you're involved with the Chamber, the Rotary, and so many other things in the community. And tell us a little bit about the honor that you received.
Yeah, that was a great honor. It was certainly unexpected. I didn't know that the paper was planning to do this, and this is going to be an annual thing. So I think it's
Yep.
going to be exciting to see who they honor in the future. But to be part of the inaugural class is a great honor. They had a very nice event where they talked about each honorary member, and a little bit about what everyone does for the community, and definitely humbling to be in the same room with those folks.
And I'm sure your family was in attendance that night when they presented these awards.
Yeah, my wife was able to make it. My parents were out of town, unfortunately, so but we definitely made it and had a good time.
Good. How many people were recognized that night?
I think it was 20, I believe so, yeah.
It was a nice organizational group, and I didn't know every one of them, but I knew the vast majority of them, and have
Right.
had interaction with them. And you were certainly in an elite group, and you certainly were very worthy of being recognized, because I think the things that you've done certainly, you're very much like your dad. You're very, and I'll say this, and I don't want to embarrass you, but you're very humble about the way you do things. You always just get out there and get things done, and you work very quietly to get things accomplished. I know you've been involved with the Chamber and you serve now presently on the Chamber,
Mm-hmm.
and you've been involved with Aiken Young Professionals. Tell me a little bit about how that was for you.
That was great. I was definitely honored to be part of that organization from the start, and I was the member of the inaugural committee that formed that group. And
I think it was, what, you and Tom Young?
Right, yeah, Tom Young and several others. And then I served as the chair for 2 years and really grew it and got the word out. And it's been, self-sustaining since then. And as a kind of an offshoot of the Chamber, and the Chamber's supported it well. And it was a great initiative by David Jameson and his leadership to get that going. Definitely proud to be part of it.
What is the age group that represents the Aiken Young Professionals?
It's 22 to 39, and it's any business-oriented young person in the community that wants to get out there and meet other like-minded people. It's great for people that are moving into town. If you have a company and you're bringing young people into town, it's a great tool to get them out in the community, kind of help them meet people.
Right. I think, or it seems that there's been a concerted effort on the part of the people in Aiken to recognize our young professionals more and more. I think there was very much a need for it, and I think David Jameson saw that and has tried to foster that, and I think people are now kind of getting on board. Certainly Ellen Priest, the editor, publisher of Aiken Standard, done a good job of focusing on that, and to be in that inaugural group is certainly an accomplishment. You've done a number of things, like tried to foster and have fostered the Aiken Young Professionals. It's just good to see that the businesses that have been in Aiken for a long time are continuing on, like yourself, and to see the people coming back home again. Did you ever think about going someplace else?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be telling you the truth if I said that I didn't think about it. I lived in Charleston for a period of time after college, and it's a great town. Made a lot of friends down there, and that's where I did my engineering apprenticeship. So that's where I gained a lot of great experience with some interesting projects down there. And then, at a certain point, I just felt like it was what I wanted to do, to go out on my own and come back to town and work with the family.
Yeah.
But also do something new and different as well. So.
Well, you've been able to come home again, and so I guess that gives you a great deal of satisfaction to be able to be in the community that your parents and grandparents helped sustain and improve the look of Aiken and the design at Aiken. That
Right.
do Do you, as an engineer, do you have to do a lot of research now? Do you have to do a lot of continuing education, things like that?
I do. There are requirements for continuing education each year, and do a lot of research. You know, whenever there's a new project that comes up or something unique, you do some research, some peer research and things like that, and to help serve the client as best you can.
Well, things change, I guess, and that's the way you keep up with the technology and the changes that are going on. And
Absolutely.
Just when you get used to one thing, they're going to come out with something different. And
That's right.
Our world ever evolving and ever changing, and we're going through a lot of things in Aiken now. And I know you've been involved with some of the Main Street. That kind of is right up your alley, isn't it?
Right.
No pun intended.
Right. Yeah. Going back to what we were talking about a minute ago about young people leaving and coming back to Aiken, I want to make sure that I want to do what I can to make Aiken an attractive place for my children and other young professionals.
Yeah.
I'd like to see opportunities for them, and I think we've got a great thing here in town, but it's a constant evolution. You've always got to be, making necessary changes to accommodate new ideas and new people.
Right. Well, Josh, I tell you what, when we have young folks like yourself that have that commitment, they've established their own family and their own identity, and it makes us look forward to the future with great expectation, and the things that are going on right now, and having you in leadership roles in the community are phenomenal. We appreciate the things that you do as not only you have brought to the community through your philanthropic organizations that you're part of, and your involvement in the business community and support of it, and just the way that you and your brother continue to operate a business, and in such a very positive way that that's what builds a community, to have strong businesses that have strong business principles, and to make Aiken the best that it can be. And we appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending time with us today. And we appreciate Josh coming with us today. Josh Stewart with Stewart Builders and Engineering. Take a look at their business models, and if you need anything, give them a call. I think you get a greater understanding of what they're all about and the heritage that they bring. Aiken is a historic community, and there are a lot of businesses and community like Aiken that have been around for many years that have made Aiken the community that it is. Thank you so much, Josh, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.